What if a simple choice by an unrecognized hero could alter the course of history? The story of Max, a discarded police dog, proves that even the underestimated can achieve the extraordinary. The early morning sun had just started to rise over the busy port of Shenzhen when Max, a 7-year-old German shepherd working in the customs department, commenced his usual inspection. His dark coat shimmered in the morning light, still wet from the early fog that clung to the port's huge containers. His handler, Officer Chun, observed with silent pride as Max executed movements with the accuracy that had earned him a legendary status among the port security teams. Chun recalled the day he initially encountered Max 5 years prior at the police dog training academy. In contrast to the other shepherds, who were brimming with enthusiasm and vigor, Max remained calm, watching intently with perceptive eyes that absorbed all that was happening around him. The instructor had described him as unusual, and some expressed concern he might be missing the essential motivation. But Chun recognized something exceptional in those observant eyes, a level of comprehension that transcended mere training. "He overanalyzes," the lead trainer had cautioned. "Most handlers prefer a dog that just obeys commands." Chun had grinned, already sensing a bond with the introspective shepherd. "Then he's ideal for me," he'd responded, "because I overthink things as well." Their early morning strolls through the harbor had turned into a tradition, a peaceful time before the day's turmoil commenced. Chun would speak gently to Max about various topics: his anxieties regarding the rising wildlife trafficking incidents, his pride in their collaborative efforts, and his worries about his elderly mother at home. Max would observe with those same insightful eyes, sometimes nudging his nose against Chun's hand, as if to convey, "I get it." Have you ever wondered how a single moment of intuition can unveil hidden truths? Max felt it in every fiber of his being. This was not an ordinary day. The word destiny is thrown around all too casually, but what does it truly mean when it unfurls right before your eyes? Chun detected the shift right away: the subtle rigidity of Max's tail, the heightened curve of his neck, and the way his nose was so active as he went around a seemingly normal shipping container. "He's never this restless," Chun noted, talking into his radio to inform his supervisor. In 5 years of collaboration, he had learned to rely on Max's instincts completely. They had encountered their fair share of successful raids, illicit drugs, contraband items, even an attempt at human trafficking. But this one was distinct. The dog's typical composed demeanor had shifted to a nearly frantic vigor. "What's wrong, boy?" Chun murmured, inching nearer to his companion. Max gazed up at him with an intensity that sent Chun's heart racing. The shepherd's snout repeatedly focused on a particular area of the container, his paws gently scratching at the metal surface. The manifest of the container described its contents as dried herbs and traditional remedies, but Chun had encountered too many deceptive manifests to accept anything as true. The morning dock workers began to pay attention, with some halting their tasks to observe. Everyone was familiar with Max. He was somewhat of a local figure, having appeared in the regional news numerous times for his outstanding detection efforts. Whenever Max behaved this way, there was always an issue. Chun called for assistance while holding his ground, one hand gently on Max's back. The shepherd's muscles were taut beneath his hand, yet he held his disciplined stance, years of training ensuring he stayed focused, despite his clear unease. While they waited, Chun reflected on all the cases they had handled together. Max possessed a remarkable talent for sensing not only illegal goods, but also the motive behind them. He appeared to grasp that their duties extended beyond locating illegal items. It involved safeguarding the defenseless. Upon the backup team's arrival, under the leadership of Senior Inspector Zhang Li, they advanced with careful expertise. Zhang had collaborated with Chun and Max for a sufficient time to value their partnership. "What does he have?" Jiang inquired softly, observing Max's intense concentration. Something unique, Chun responded, explaining Max's atypical actions. This isn't his usual contraband alerts. It's more intimate. The act of opening these types of containers was always fraught with tension. Protocol demanded thorough documentation and several witnesses. As the large doors slowly opened, Max's anxiety grew, and a strange, musty scent emerged. The odor struck Chun's nostrils, causing him to recoil. Years of experience indicated to him that this was more than just another smuggling incident. Could you remain composed in the face of an impending revelation that promises to shift your world forever? Jiang whispered, directing his flashlight into the poorly lit space. The beam sliced through the darkness, uncovering lines of orderly stacked burlap bags. However, Max's actions grew increasingly persistent, his whines adopting a tone that Chun had never encountered before, nearly sorrowful. While the forensics team systematically examined the container's contents, Max stayed concentrated, his body tense yet composed. Chun observed that his partner repeatedly went back to particular bags, almost as if trying to convey a specific message. Years spent collaborating had taught Chun to interpret Max's subtle cues, and at this moment, every muscle of the shepherd's body indicated unease. The magic word for today's contest is resilience. Comment it below and join us in the fight against wildlife crime. Every comment helps us spread awareness. Calm down, boy, Chun whispered in Mandarin, a language Max had learned to comprehend just as effortlessly as his German training commands. The dog momentarily leaned against his leg, both seeking and providing comfort, before resuming its attentive guard over the surroundings. Inspector Jiang's phone vibrated incessantly as senior officials were alerted. With each call, more officials arrived at the scene, their expressions turning more serious as the extent of the discovery unfolded. Close to 12 tons of pangolin scales, indicative of thousands of killed creatures, made this one of the biggest wildlife trafficking seizures in the port's history. Chun observed as Max abruptly rushed to a corner of the container, pawing at multiple bags that appeared just like the others. Taking cues from his partner, Chun summoned the forensics team. As they meticulously unfastened these specific sacks, they discovered the evidence that would unravel the case. Waterproof bags concealing documents nestled beneath the scales. "This is remarkable," whispered Senior Inspector Jiang, gingerly examining one of the papers with gloved fingers. "These aren't merely shipping manifests. They contain complete operational information." His eyes expanded as he surveyed the documents. Contact lists, payment logs, routes. They've unintentionally provided us with their entire strategy. Detective Lu Ming appeared at the location, her arrival underscoring the seriousness of the matter. A seasoned member of the Wildlife Crimes Unit with 20 years of experience, she was known for transforming intricate cases into successful prosecutions. Chun had collaborated with her previously and valued how she consistently made the effort to recognize Max's input. "Great job, you both," she remarked, stopping to allow Max to smell her hand in welcome before focusing on the evidence. Her seasoned gaze rapidly evaluated the papers, her face growing serious. "This is more significant than we anticipated, far more." While the team started to examine the area, Chun and Max held their ground at the entrance of the container. Max's attentiveness never faltered, even after hours went by. From time to time, he would glance at Chun with those insightful eyes, almost conveying, "There's more. Continue searching. Don't let this be a story forgotten in time. Share it with 3 friends who value courage and resilience, and let's create ripples of change together." The inquiry soon grew beyond the harbor. The chains of greed and exploitation stretch further than we can imagine. How can we address such a pervasive issue on a global scale? Detective Lu established a command center in an adjacent office, quickly filling the walls with photos and documents. 2 names repeatedly showed up in the evidence: Li Jiangho, a South Korean entrepreneur whose import/export operation seemed legitimate at first glance, and He Wei-ming, a Chinese citizen linked to traditional medicine providers. "Take a look at this," Lu remarked, indicating a set of images discovered in the concealed papers. The pictures depicted pangolins being seized in Indonesia and Malaysia, the ruthless effectiveness of the operation clear in each shot. Chun sensed Max lean against his leg while he examined the images, the shepherd's compassion noticeable in his gentle whimper. "I understand, boy," Chun murmured, crouching beside his companion. "This is our purpose." Max's warm brown gaze connected with his, brimming with an insight that occasionally appeared to surpass species. Throughout their years together, they had encountered numerous unsettling experiences, yet this case struck a personal chord with both. The inquiry shifted unexpectedly when Junior Officer Wong, while examining the confiscated photos, identified a warehouse in the backdrop of one picture. "Sir," he exclaimed, his voice a blend of enthusiasm and astonishment. "This structure, it's located in Shenzhen. I see it daily on my commute to work." Detective Lu swiftly assembled the team. "If we're correct about this warehouse, we could have a shot at catching them red-handed," she mentioned, unfolding a city map. "However, we require complete assurance before taking action." Chun glanced at Max, who was attentively seated beside him. "What's your opinion, partner? Are you prepared for some sleuthing duties?" Max's tail wagged firmly in agreement, his stance indicating he was set for whatever lay ahead. As the group scattered to start organizing the surveillance mission, Chun stepped outside with Max for a quick break. In a peaceful pause from the turmoil, he contemplated their journey together, from their initial awkward days as partners to the present, when a mere glance or gesture sufficed for communication. "You know," he murmured to Max as they observed the sunset over the harbor, "at times, I feel you grasp human nature better than the majority." Max leaned his head on Chun's knee, a reassuring presence amid the challenges they faced side by side. The surveillance operation at the warehouse commenced right away, with teams rotating in shifts to oversee all actions. Chun and Max received the important night watch duty, their skills in detection rendering them perfect for spotting suspicious activities. They operated from a concealed van situated among various delivery trucks, merging into the industrial environment. Throughout their extended nights of observation, Chun frequently reminisced about their training days spent together. He recalled how Max had thrived in patience, a unique trait in young detection dogs. That same patience proved beneficial as they observed hour after hour, anticipating the perfect moment. "Activity at the southeast entrance," Chun murmured into his radio one notably chilly night, while Max's ears heightened at the noise of a nearby truck. The shepherd's discipline made him quiet, yet Chun sensed his companion's growing enthusiasm. Using their night vision gear, they saw workers efficiently unloading crates with skill. "Every individual has a designated role," Chun recorded in his notes. "This isn't an inexperienced operation." Max observed closely, his head angled slightly as he followed the activity below. Despite years of collaboration, Chun remained in awe of his partner's focus. Detective Lu collaborated with global officials, creating an extensive depiction of the trafficking syndicate. The warehouse they found was merely one point in a complicated network extending across multiple countries. Yet it played a vital role, a distribution center where buyers could evaluate goods prior to committing to larger transactions. The significant lead emerged when monitoring detected discussions regarding an important meeting that both Li and he were slated to attend, a shipment assessment, an uncommon chance to witness the masterminds of the operation together. Lu scheduled the raid for dawn, that vital moment when night shift employees were fatigued and the day shift had not yet come in. The evening before the raid, Chun decided to take Max on a longer stroll than normal. "Tomorrow is going to matter, boy," he said softly while they traversed a local park. "We must perform at our best." Max gazed up at him with those knowing eyes, seemingly grasping the importance of the occasion. And so, the final showdown begins, a clash between light and shadow. Which side will triumph at dawn? At 5:43 a.m., as the initial touches of dawn brushed the sky with gentle pinks and grays, the raid commenced. Max was in front of the tactical team, having already detected 12 individuals inside the warehouse with his sharp sense of smell. Years of experience in identifying both wildlife items and human activity made him an essential resource for the mission. "Police, stay still!" The yells resonated throughout the warehouse as doors flew open from various entryways. The surprise factor was highly effective. The majority of the workers were entirely unprepared. Max and Chun were part of the group that secured the primary storage space, where they discovered shelves stacked with pangolin scales and various illicit wildlife items. The situation that developed was chaotic yet managed, but Max stayed concentrated, guiding Chun through the warehouse with intent. Multiple employees tried to escape, but were swiftly captured by the stationed perimeter teams. In a back office, Lee was caught attempting to erase files from a computer when he was found trying to flee through a concealed door behind a fake wall. But Max was not done. While the suspects were being apprehended, he started to point out something under the floorboards in the office. His actions were vigorous, yet exact. This wasn't merely leftover scent from the smuggling operation. This was something particular. As officers lifted the boards, they found a concealed compartment filled with documents, phones, and multiple USB drives, vital evidence that would aid in uncovering the whole network. "Good boy, Max," Chun commended quietly, observing his partner as he persistently searched through the area. The most agonizing revelation occurred when Max guided them to a tiny room at the rear of the warehouse. His demeanor shifted noticeably, turning more mild, more careful. Inside, they discovered 3 live pangolins in a crude cage, obviously held as items for possible purchasers. The animals were in awful shape, strained and undernourished. Chun observed as wildlife rescue specialists carefully took out the pangolins, noticing how Max remained still nearby, his gaze fixed on the creatures. Throughout their time together, Chun had witnessed his partner show extraordinary empathy towards rescued animals, almost as if he grasped the significance of staying composed and non-threatening. The weeks after the raid turned the calm customs team into the eye of an international media frenzy. The evidence gathered from the warehouse resulted in simultaneous arrests in 6 countries, revealing corruption at various levels within the shipping sector. Throughout the situation, Chun endeavored to protect Max from excessive scrutiny, understanding that his partner favored the calm concentration of their usual responsibilities. Nevertheless, Max's tale captured the public's imagination in an unforeseen manner. Here was a previous shelter dog, once deemed too thoughtful for police tasks, who had assisted in revealing one of the biggest wildlife trafficking schemes in Asian history. The story of the German Shepherd evolving from an undesirable puppy to a hero in wildlife protection struck a chord with audiences globally. In his composed manner, Max reminds us all that true strength comes not from power, but from purpose. This is just one in a series of remarkable tales. In our next video, you'll uncover how seemingly small acts can lead to world-changing outcomes. You won't want to miss it. If stories like Max's inspire you, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon. Stay updated on tales that celebrate the triumph of compassion over ignorance. The 3 saved pangolins emerged as beacons of hope at the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. Chun frequently took Max to see them, observing how his partner appeared to grasp the necessity for calm and soft actions around the distressed animals. The youngest pangolin, affectionately called Lucky by the rescue staff, displayed notable strength, and something extraordinary started to unfold. "I've never encountered anything like this," Dr. Zhang, the chief wildlife veterinarian, commented one day. "Typically, pangolins are very timid around dogs, but Lucky genuinely seems to recognize Max. Look at this," he remarked, as they watched Lucky come to the front of his enclosure whenever Max showed up, displaying none of the usual fear linked to his species. Chun would spend hours beside Max, observing the pangolin's healing journey. "Look at how much they've improved," he would remark, petting behind Max's ears. The shepherd would remain still, head inclined, appearing to grasp the significance of their healing. The staff at the wildlife center were astonished by how the pangolin seemed to recognize Max, displaying no fear of the dog that had aided in their rescue. The prosecution of Lee turned into a significant case in wildlife crime cases. Chun and Max were there daily, their presence a constant reminder of the case's origins. The proof was irrefutable. Extensive ledgers, electronic documents, and security recordings illustrated the existence of a complex criminal organization that had functioned without consequence for years. Throughout the proceedings, Max's role emerged as a key emphasis. Defense attorneys attempted to downplay the initial findings as mere fortune, yet expert evidence regarding the advanced training and skills of detection dogs aided in validating the credibility of the evidence. The judge, in particular, appeared to be impressed by the thorough documentation of Max's training and his established track record. The sentencing hearing was filled with emotion. Victim impact statements were received not only from conservation groups, but also from communities in Africa and Southeast Asia, where pangolin numbers had been drastically reduced. Chun observed Max as he attentively listened to each speaker, his ears adjusting to follow their voices, appearing to grasp the seriousness of the occasion. The judge's ruling was unparalleled. 15 years imprisonment for every kingpin, along with substantial fines, designated exclusively for wildlife conservation initiatives. The judge remarked that this situation serves as a reminder that the tiniest and most defenseless individuals can receive safeguarding from unforeseen protectors. The case's influence spread throughout the global community. Shipping firms, affected by the exposure of corrupt practices, adopted more rigorous verification protocols. Numerous ports implemented what is referred to as the Max Protocol, an extensive framework of checks and balances aimed at detecting wildlife smuggling efforts. The warehouse itself experienced a change. Instead of allowing it to remain a symbol of brutality, officials turned it into an education center for wildlife crime. A unique exhibition honoring Max and other service animals in law enforcement became the focal point. A life-sized figure of the German Shepherd is positioned at the entrance, depicting his typical alert yet gentle demeanor. Chun observed shifts in Max as well. Although the shepherd carried out his port duties with calm efficiency, he appeared to have acquired an even stronger sense of purpose. His focus on wildlife shipments intensified, as if he realized that every container they inspected could determine life or death for endangered species. A year following the raid, Chun was speaking to a fresh group of wildlife detection dog handlers, with Max beside him, focused and alert. "The key lesson we took away," he shared, "wasn't related to search methods or managing evidence. It centered on trust. Trust in your partner's intuition, faith in their feelings, and confidence in the connection you have." 2 years following the landmark operation, Chun addressed the audience at the newly formed International Wildlife Protection Training Center, with Max loyally beside him. Although gray had begun to appear on his partner's muzzle, Max's eyes were still as bright and attentive as always. Below them, 20 teams of handlers and dogs from throughout Asia listened closely, each eager to gain insights from the collaboration that transformed wildlife protection permanently. People frequently inquire what set Max apart. Chun spoke to the crowd, his hand softly placed on Max's back. The reality is, it wasn't solely his extraordinary sense of smell or his training. It was his spirit. Every detection dog possesses the capability to locate contraband, but Max comprehended the reason for our search. The triumph of their case had transformed wildlife protection training. The techniques created during their pangolin case had turned into standard procedure, but more significantly, the criteria for choosing detection dogs had evolved. Training facilities were now seeking dogs like Max, the observant ones, the contemplative ones, those who may have been previously ignored. Fortunate, the rehabilitated pangolin had turned into a representative for his kind. With the support of committed wildlife specialists, he changed from a frightened trafficking victim into a self-assured creature who aids in educating the public on wildlife conservation. Researchers examining the salvaged pangolins uncovered significant insights into their cognitive abilities and social interactions, data that became crucial for conservation initiatives. Chun and Max frequently went to the rehabilitation center, where their visits provided reassurance not only to the animals, but also to the staff. It seems he understands how to interact perfectly with each animal, one caretaker noted, observing Max's tender actions with a recently rescued pangolin. He's educating us as much as we are educating others. The effects of their involvement kept extending further. Shipping firms, affected by the exposure of corruption, adopted more stringent verification measures. Multiple ports implemented what was termed the Max Protocol, an extensive framework of checks and balances aimed at detecting wildlife trafficking efforts. The protocol not only focused on enhanced security, it also involved training employees to identify indicators of trafficking and creating explicit pathways for reporting dubious activities. One of the most heartfelt legacies was the letters and drawings sent to Max by children globally. The tale of a devoted dog aiding in the rescue of threatened animals has fascinated many and motivated a fresh wave of wildlife advocates. Chan maintained a bulletin board adorned with this artwork in his office, and he observed how Max frequently sat and examined the images, as if grasping his part in motivating others. As Max neared retirement, Chan observed that his partner was becoming less active, yet he remained ever committed. They dedicated additional time to training younger dogs, with Max appearing to take pride in showing proper search methods to his successors. Even more astonishing was the way the seasoned shepherd appeared to recognize which dogs possessed unique potential, frequently focusing on the quieter, more reflective ones. "He's selecting his heirs," Detective Lou noted one day, observing Max interact with a young Belgian Malinois who had previously been deemed too shy for the program. He observes himself in them. The overall impact of their case was notable. More than 50 arrests spanning 3 continents, the disruption of various trafficking routes, and a substantial reduction in pangolin smuggling at Asian ports. For Chan, true success is reflected in the flourishing pangolins at the rehab center and in Max's ongoing commitment to their efforts. If stories like Max's inspire you, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon. Stay updated on tales that celebrate the triumph of compassion over ignorance. On Max's final official day of service, the port authorities arranged a special event. Delegates from global wildlife organizations gathered to pay tribute to the dog that played a pivotal role in transforming wildlife crime prevention. Max received the attention with his characteristic calm grace, although his tail wagged especially vigorously when given a large bone. Chan's address that day brought many to tears. "Some claim animals don't grasp the significance of their actions," he stated, his hand placed on Max's head. "Yet I've seen this dog support trafficking survivors, mentor younger dogs, and demonstrate what real dedication looks like." Max didn't merely discover evidence, he uncovered a method to reveal our own humanity. Today, those visiting the Wildlife Protection Training Center are welcomed by two statues, one representing a noble German shepherd in his prime, and next to it, a smaller sculpture of a pangolin gazing up at the dog that aided in saving its species. The inscription below states, "To Max, who taught us that heroes exist in every species, and that the tiniest among us warrant the utmost protection." Chun concluded active service on the same day as Max, yet they did not cease their efforts completely. They transitioned to becoming special advisors at the training center, where Max's legacy still motivates emerging wildlife detection teams. Even in retirement, Max upheld his calm dignity and sense of purpose, illustrating that the spirit of a guardian never really steps down. Ultimately, their narrative transformed into more than a successful wildlife trafficking case. It evolved into a testament to the remarkable connections between humans and animals, and a reminder that often the strongest defenders of nature's vulnerable beings emerge in surprising shapes. Max's legacy endures in each detection dog team, committed to wildlife protection, and in the hearts of everyone who hears his story. Every comment you leave brightens the life of an animal in need. Stand with Max and be part of their journey of salvation.